Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to share some tips with you, as well as help you correct a few potential body positioning mistakes you might be making to help you score more goals. And especially in the modern game, with it being so dynamic, no matter if you're a striker, a winger, midfielder, even a defender, you might find yourself in these positions, and if you can execute the finish, you're going to help your team score more goals. And any player who scores goals consistently is an asset. So the position we're in is at an angle. As you can see, we're just inside the box. You can even be just outside the box as well. But we've got an opening where we can see the far post. Being able to wrap it into that far corner is a very dangerous strike. Difficult for the goalkeepers to save. If you can execute it correctly with a bit of top spin and a bit of whip, it goes out of the goalkeeper's reach and into that far side. So the most common mistake I see is when players are in this position, they've identified that far post to try and wrap it into, and instead of getting it in the far post, it goes straight down the middle. And although you might hit it with enough power and catch the goalkeeper off guard sometimes, we don't want to rely on goalkeeper mistakes in order to get goals. That's just going to happen sometimes, but we would rather produce consistent results that we can replicate over and over and over again. Typically, if you're hitting it down the middle, that means you're over rotating. What's tempting around the box is we start steering our body towards our target. When we're squared up to the goal, it's very difficult to generate momentum and the backswing we need to wrap around that ball and create any effect on it. So instead, we want to approach the ball from more of an angle. So as you can see, if I'm at an angle, my hip and my shoulder is aligned with my target. It's about 90 degrees. So be disciplined here. It might feel awkward at first, but positioning your body away from the goal, aligning your hip and shoulder, is going to put you in a perfect position to wrap the ball, give you plenty of room to generate momentum, spin behind the ball to get those results. So let's have a look at the difference here. Away from the goal, align the outside of my left hip and left shoulder towards my target. And you'll see the difference in the results here. So get out your feet, wrap it, and as you can see, a lot more top spin, a lot more right to left movement. Those two combined is going to get out of the goalkeeper's reach and wrap back into that far side. So instead of coming square onto the ball and hitting it more down the middle, we're really going to keep our hip open and away from that goal, wrap it into that far corner. So let's look at it one more time. Outside hip aligned with the shoulder, wrap it far corner. Keeper's definitely not saving that one. So we've adjusted our body positioning to give us the best chance of wrapping the ball into that far corner, but we also need to make sure we're not only hitting the correct part of the ball, but we're using the correct part of the foot. So when it comes to part of the foot, you're gonna have to play around with this one yourself, but it's generally gonna be somewhere between the big toe and the ankle in this instep area. It's gonna give you a combination of power and accuracy. When you're passing the ball, you use this area here. If you're going for ultimate power, you're going to use the laces. We're looking for a combination of both. So it's going to be directly in between those two zones. So if you draw a line from your big toe up to your ankle, it's typically going to be somewhere in here. I found it to be just at the base of the big toe. That allows me enough room to connect with the ball, stay in contact till it leaves my foot, and that allows for the spin. So as you can see, when you make contact, if I make contact around this big knuckle area here, I can then wrap up the ball, and that's going to give more contact on the ball and generate more spin. So play around with it, find the exact area that works best for you, but you'll typically find it somewhere in this area. Then when it comes to striking the ball, we not only want to hit to the side of the ball, but also upwards on the ball, because we want to have a little bit of spin this way, but also spin this way. The ball should be traveling like this through the air. It's kind of an oval effect. We're not going perfectly from right to left, or perfect top spin. Is in between those two. That gives it a bit of right to left movement and also a little bit of up and down, which is going to give us that perfect angle to put it in that top stance over there. So when we're striking the ball with that big knuckle, we want to hit just off center, just below the middle of the ball, somewhere around here in that bottom right quadrant of the ball in relation to the goal. So if we divide the ball into 4 quadrants, we're looking for this lower right hand side, and we want to hit up the ball from the side. So we're creating this kind of effect. So we make contact, let the ball leave our foot, That's going to give it that spin we want. Common mistake you might be making is hitting too much on the outside of the ball. You might be focusing on only generating that right to left spin. So even if you get that spin, there's not a lot of power. That's going to be an easy save for the goalkeeper. It's either going to go into the bottom corner like that with no power, easy save, or it's going to float into the goalkeeper's hands. We're looking for a more aggressive movement on the ball. So instead of hitting on the outside of that ball, we're hitting upwards on the ball. And as you'll see the difference here, it wraps, it goes up and down, and also a little bit of right to left. In terms of planting foot, I've found that keeping my foot close to the ball allows me to generate more accuracy. So it's typically about 6 inches or so away from the ball. My ankle is typically aligned right through the middle. So I'm right beside the ball with a slight bend in my knee for a stable and solid foundation. Your planting leg is just as important as your kicking leg. You need to have a solid foundation in order to give you more balance, help you generate more accuracy and power. So really contract those quadriceps, tighten your core so you're nice and balanced on that planting foot. And that's going to help you generate more force through the ball. If you're off balance, the ball's just going to go through the air, it's going to be floating, it's going to go off target. So really focus on a solid planting foot. Right beside the ball, about 6 inches, ankle aligned through the middle of that ball. It doesn't have to point at your target because we're allowing the movement to take it back inside. So we can point it away from the goal in the direction our hips are already aligned with. So right beside the ball, wrapping around it, and then land back on your kicking foot. That's going to help you stay balanced through the entire technique. So let's look at it here, really focusing on that planting foot, wrap around it, and that's the results we're looking for, wrapping outside that post and back inside. A couple of key points for generating maximum power and accuracy. We already mentioned keeping our core tight. That allows us to generate more force through our swinging action, but also increasing our backswing, which means the further we draw our leg back, the more room we have to swing our leg, which allows us to generate more momentum. And by the time it strikes the ball, there's a lot more energy going through it, which is going to generate more power. Now let's talk about your follow through. And this is what you do after you strike the ball. And it's so important. A lot of players focus on only what happens before they strike the ball, but you need to stay disciplined right until the end of that technique if you want to generate your desired results. So a key tip I will share with you is that whatever you do with your follow through has a direct impact on the flight of the ball. It kind of mirrors the movement of your foot. So if I strike through the ball straight, the ball is going to travel straight. If I whip my leg across the ball and follow through with some curl, some bend, the ball is also going to curl and bend. So whatever you do with your follow through is going to have a direct impact on the flight of the ball. So as we strike, we lift our foot upwards. That gives the top spin. We're striking up the ball. And then we need to bring our foot back down and across. Again, that's going to bring the ball back down and across. So if we piece these 3 movements together, we're going to get that desired movement on the ball. So if we go up, across, and down, the ball should do the exact same thing. It should go up, across, and down. So you'll see here, as I follow through, I'm striking up and across, and then bringing my foot back down to the ground. My striking leg goes up, across, and down, landing back on my striking foot. Let's look at this follow through one more time. So the foot should go up, across, and down. That's going to give us the desired movement. Another key tip is as you strike, having your chest slightly over the ball upon contact allows you to get up and over that ball. If I'm leaning backwards, my foot's just going to go up in the air. It's going to be very difficult to get back down on it. Typically, we'll send the ball over the bar if we're leaning back. So chest slightly over the ball upon contact, tight core, staying disciplined, trying to land back on that striking foot as quickly as you can. And bonus tip for you, if you do find yourself in this position where you're squared up, hips facing the goal, doesn't mean you can't strike the ball. It just means you have to adjust your technique. It doesn't make sense to get around the ball. You're not gonna have that time and space in a match to then get around it and whip it into that far post. So instead, you're gonna have to slightly alter your body positioning. So if you are squared up to the goal, you then have to open up the foot. So 2 rules I like to apply is if you're at an open angle, meaning away from the goal, close the angle with your foot. If you're at a closed angle with your body, open the foot. So it's always opposite. Open angle, closed foot, closed angle, open foot. And what I mean by that is, if I'm going towards the goal here, I have to slightly step beside the ball, but instead of trying to wrap the ball, I'm using just a really firm passing technique. So it's going to be more on the inside of the foot here, squaring my body towards my target, getting right through the back of that ball, and that's going to give it the most accuracy to go into that side. You might not get as much power, but you can still catch the goalkeeper off guard from this angle. So it's all about recognizing the scenario that you're in and adjusting your body position accordingly. So if I'm at an angle, we're wrapping the ball, hip and shoulder aligned towards my target. If I'm square, I'm keeping my hips facing towards my target, opening up my foot, trying to get through the back of that ball in line with my target. So if I'm behind the ball, punch through it, and that'll give you the results you want. So that's it for the tutorial, but I have one key message. That's one of the best pieces of advice I ever got as a player, and that's to train for the opportunity you want, not the opportunity you currently have. So if you're currently playing with a Sunday League team that trains maybe not even once a week, once or twice, you need to be doing those extras outside of that training in order to reach the next level. Because if you then go into a semi-professional team that trains 3 or 4 times a week and you're not prepared for that, you're not giving yourself the best chance of succeeding. So if your goal is to make it to a higher level, you should be training like a higher level player. And that's also the same for these types of techniques. You might be playing at a current level where you can just hit the ball on target with power and it beats the goalkeeper every time. But if you're looking to get to those higher levels where the goalkeepers have better reactions and better positioning, you want to be working on these top elite techniques that are going to allow you to score more goals no matter what level you're playing. So make sure you're always training in a way that matches your goal and your ambition. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, make sure you smash the like button, hit that subscribe button for weekly training videos. I'll see you guys in my next video.